These two people have every reason to hate each other. He's a black atheist and a former freedom fighter. She's a white Christian whose only daughter was killed on his orders. Today they are friends and are working together to heal others. Even though these are the memories he created when he ordered the attacks.
When you've given up your need for revenge, you then start seeing the value.
I was appointed into APLA High Command in 1987, and early 1991, I became Azanian People's Liberation Army Director of Operations. During my spell as the Director of Operations, I ordered the killings of white civilians. I thought that would bomb them out of their cocoons of indifference to the country's reality.
Rural South Africa, 70 kilometers outside Polokwane, in Limpopo province. This is where Letlapa Mphalele was born. His mother remembers him when he was just 17 years old. Driven by what he saw as unjust racial inequalities, he followed his burning desire to go into exile to learn how to fight the white people, something he did not tell his mother at the time. Trapped by the apartheid system, Letlapa's family was constantly harassed by the South African police. They wanted to know where he was.
The South African people, they were looking for him high and low. And we didn't know that he's still alive.
He was alive, living in exile and training as a soldier in the Pan-Africanist Congress's army. 15 years later, Letlapa crossed the border back into South Africa as its Director of Operations. And after 1991, when negotiations were taking place to end apartheid, he ordered numerous attacks on white civilians.
A lot of Africans were being massacred in the townships, in the public transport, like taxis, trains, that I felt that the white people had to taste their own medicine. So I gave orders on attacks on different civilian targets, among them Heidelberg Tavern, St. James Church, Queenstown Steak Restaurant, and King Williamstown Golf Club.
The armed attack on a restaurant in Cape Town, in which 4 people died and 5 were injured, has been widely condemned both here and abroad. Police have launched a countrywide search for the 5 men responsible.
Brian Madasi was one of the foot soldiers responsible for the attack on the Heidelberg Tavern that night. This is the grenade he threw. If it had gone off, then many more people would have died. But for him, the operation was a success because they killed 4 people and all of his men survived.
There was a feeling that our orders that we were given have been fulfilled. So there was that honor that we did what we have did. And also, we were not ashamed of what we have done.
The attack was part of APLA's Operation Desert Storm. It was a campaign of war aimed at killing white people and stopping the injustice. Such as the South African Defence Force attack on a house in Umtata on the 8th of October 1993.
Some school children were massacred in Umtata, allegedly for being APLA members, and it is not true. They were not APLA. And of course there was little outcry because those were African people.
Which is why Letlapa refused to apologize for attacks like the one on the Heidelberg Tavern.
That show of capacity to retaliate, I think in a way sent a clear message to the architects of Umtata raid or Umtata massacre that no more were we going to be killed and massacred with impunity.
But for those who lost loved ones, the attack is impossible to understand. Roland Palm feels he was not responsible for apartheid. He was there that night and lost his only daughter. Since then, he's had a nervous breakdown. and lives like a hermit in a caravan park outside of Cape Town.
Even up to date, I see him now, and I've got something that will destroy him. I'll go for it, because he's left me with nothing. They've left me with basically nothing. They got a hero's welcome when he walked out of the embassy, and what had left us? Bitter.
Johan and Ginn Fourie also lost their only daughter that night.
Well, Lindy was 23, tall, dark, beautiful, as a mother's eyes see. She was just finishing a civil engineering degree when she was killed.
It's actually quite hard story, you know.
For Johan, nothing will ever justify her brutal death.
I don't know what went through these people's minds, you know. Those that were responsible for the attacks, all of them, on civilians, they're all guilty of murder. Kant en klaar.
They are a family divided, something neither of them wants to talk about. Because for his wife Ginn, it's different. She heard the young men who killed her daughter, saw their remorse and chose to forgive them.
They thanked me. You know, it was that response. Already that restoration of humanity was happening for them.
Looking back at the tragedy, one wonders why Ginn could forgive what many others found impossible. Is it because she's a Christian, or that she has grappled with her own role in this country's history? Perhaps it's because she has been writing her doctoral thesis on forgiveness. Or is it all of this and the mission statement she wrote 2 years before her daughter died?
The mission statement I wrote was to extend God's grace to each person I meet. I didn't know what I was challenging myself with.
One person she found very difficult to forgive was Letlapa. He had not applied for amnesty for killing her child and had shown no remorse.
My proudest moment was when I saw the whites being killed on the battlefield.
2 years ago, Ginn heard Letlapa on the radio. He admitted he'd ordered the attack. She went to his book launch to confront him.
I was quite angry because he had eluded the public prosecutor and not applied for amnesty. So when I got up and said to him, hadn't he trivialized the whole TRC process by not participating? He responded in a very positive way. He said, well, yes, perhaps one could see it like that, but from his perspective, hadn't the TRC trivialized the fact that he was at war?
After the break, how did Ginn Fourie forgive Letlapa Mphalele?
Last night's massacre at a church in Cape Town sent shockwaves through a South Africa already reeling from a weekend of political violence which claimed more than 65 lives. 11 people were killed and nearly 50 injured in the horror attack on St. James's Anglican Church in Kenilworth.
Evil challenges that which is good in South Africa. Church-going people of all denominations are the backbone of this country.
But for Letlapa, the spine of apartheid was his target. All he saw were people who had benefited from the international crime against humanity.
It was high time that people had to know that churches are not so holy after all, so long as people who attend them are guilty of oppressing other fellow human beings.
People like Charles van Wyk, a former soldier, was there when it happened. He was armed and shot back, wounding one of the attackers. He has also written a book about that day.
Yeah, I think they left the St. James massacre out of... It's an experience that you just could never actually ever forget about. It's so ingrained in your mind. To see people that are just totally helpless, just falling to the ground and not being able to defend themselves, it's just absolutely horrendous.
Basim Kabosi lives with the same memories. He was 17 at the time. He watched the white apartheid police beat up people in his community in Khayelitsha, which is why he took part in the attack.
It gives me a lot of stress. Yeah, sometimes I feel like losing it, but I must try just to be happy because I am not ashamed of what I have done.
Both sides live with the pain and hurt, something that Letlapa wants to change. Childhood lessons from his elders taught him that war can only be neutralized by forgiveness.
Fighting is as old as humanity. Where there is a human being, there is war. And at the same time, there is peace. And they go together, these things. But at the end of the struggle or at the end of the war, we have to make peace so that there is coexistence.
The elders call it spear cleansing, a time of healing after pain. And the first person Letlapa started the process with was Charles.
Morning, Charles.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good to meet you.
Great to meet you.
They met at the PAC offices in Parliament.
It was quite a nerve-wracking experience coming here, and then obviously when you put out your hand to shake my hand and the first thing you said was, Charles, this is not an ambush, I felt much better,
Well, my first impressions with you was that you possessed those qualities that are very essential in a human being. Humor and honesty.
There is almost nothing that these two men have in common or agree on, whether it's gun ownership, land redistribution or religion. Yet today, Charles donates books to Letlapa, who distributes them in rural schools, a relationship that Charles never thought was possible.
I really struggled with this. I didn't want to forgive you people at all. I really had a tough time working through these issues. At the end of the day, if I'm the one sitting with unforgiveness in my heart, I'm the one that's feeling all sorry for myself, feeling bitter about things, and all it does is eat you away.
Charles may have become Letlapa's friend, but he still thinks Letlapa should face the law after refusing to apply for amnesty from the TRC. For Charles, the issues are clear-cut. He and the churchgoers were innocent.
In an ideal world, I would go for anybody that takes innocent life. Would need to go through a judicial system, and if found guilty for that they would need to be put to death for it.
We pray, Lord, that you would strengthen the relationships here.
But for Letlapa, it was a just war, and Charles was not innocent. Charles had been a soldier in the apartheid army. And for Letlapa, there was no reason to apply for amnesty or apologize for the attack.
I did not think that it was a good precedence for freedom fighters to ask for forgiveness for fighting for freedom. Otherwise, what lesson are we relaying to the posterity if people who rise against oppression will go on and say, we're sorry we rose against the oppression?
Ginn also agreed to meet Letlapa at the PAC office. She listened to him, placed herself in his shoes, and finally understood why he could not say sorry for the pain he had caused.
I know. She understood me. Other people were wincing and they couldn't understand these terrorists still being unapologetic, still, talking not in very glowing ways about the TRC. But Ginn said she understood me, and she says that she detected that this person is remorseful.
I saw the remorse in his eyes, in his body language. And you can't describe that. And he describes it as a restoration of his humanity.
I had defied TRC, I had defied the courts, and they withdrew the charges, but I did not feel anything inside me. It was only when people extended gifts of forgiveness that some roots of my heart were shaken and something was restored inside me.
After the break, what comes after understanding and forgiveness? Even with this tragic past, the spears had been cleansed for Letlapa and Ginn because they finally understood each other. And for Letlapa, anyone who can do that is a hero.
They should be taken as icons of reconciliation, more than the one who is being forgiven.
Which is why Letlapa invited Ginn to his homecoming ceremony in his rural village.
The people really accepted me and gave me a salutation name of Paladi, and called me a mother of Africa.
She delivered the most moving speech of the day, and she got the loudest applause, louder than I got, after nearly 2 decades in exile.
Ginn Fourie, survivor of apartheid.
She stood up and she asked for forgiveness from the people on behalf of her ancestors.
Ginn realized that she had to stop the cycle, that humiliation and loss of human dignity breeds violence, and that one generation after another has been doing it to each other in South Africa.
We're all victims, and that's the case with any victim, or any perpetrator has always been a victim. And so it's a vicious cycle of victim, perpetrator, victim, and back and forth it goes. And I think what I've discovered is that one can move out of victimhood into being a survivor. And from being a survivor, you can move into being a wounded healer.
As wounded healers, they started a foundation. Ginn suggested that it be called the No Fat Cats Foundation.
He said, excellent concept, No Fat Cats, but not a good name. So I said, well, what would be a good name? And he said, the Ginn Fourie Foundation. So I said, why? And he said, because when people say who was Ginn Fourie, the story would be told and retold, and her name forever associated with conciliation.
Her daughter's name is now being used for cultural diversity workshops in the workplace, rural empowerment projects in Letlapa's village, where they have just donated wheelchairs that have allowed people to leave their homes after many years. They also do healing and empowerment work with ex-combatants like Brian, who has planted a tree in the name of those he killed, like Ginn's daughter, and who breeds pigeons as a symbol of peace.
By holding this somewhere along the line, it's representing the victims of those who were killed by the bullets of APLA. So this is the signal that their blood have not been just fallen away. We still have something, we still have that sorrow around us.
He is one of hundreds, if not thousands, of ex-combatants that need to be heard and that need to go through their own form of spear cleansing.
Those ones who are the soldiers supposed to be the first priority, because even to skip exile, the country to exile wasn't easy. To go to prison wasn't easy.
We fought one struggle. And we fought for freedom for all our people. We were between 11 and 15 years old that time. And today, we gave up our education, we gave up our youth.
It's about so-called politicians who do not even right now care about people who are involved in the struggle.
We as the forces, jointly MK and APLA, we are still concerned with the people. And the majority people of our country are still suffered.
My concern was about those freedom fighters who are still in prison. What makes me to be angry is for Zothusile Nontshiza, who's serving 18 years in prison after fighting for the liberation of this country.
There is a great need for government to listen to their pleas and to hopefully partner the foundation to create projects that cleanse and heal, something that many South Africans need and could do with some help, like Roland, who can't come to terms with his daughter's death.
I've basically lost everything. I've lost everything. I haven't got a zest to go on anymore. It's just existing. It's just living existence.
Ginn's husband, Johan, is determined to see justice take its course. He believes that will heal the wounds.
If there's a justice system, it's got to take its course. Failing which, the example goes out, wittingly, unwittingly, to others of all colours and creeds, etc., that violence, crime, murder and rape is okay. That's the saddest part of it.
And then there are those who are sending Ginn hate mail. Some of the pictures show bullet holes in their foreheads.
Thousands of law-abiding South African citizens and abroad are dumbstruck by the love and respect you've shown to the black, barbaric, subhuman swines who committed all those atrocities. You have betrayed your daughter, and if her spirit prevails in heaven, she will not have any love for you or your barbaric, black, subhuman criminals. It indicates to me that through that fear there's still a lot of hate and a lack of understanding that they fought against apartheid in order for unity, in order for people of all tribes and races and colours to be able to associate peacefully and happily together. That's what they fought for. Not because they innate killers. And it's so sad when that's not happening. And their dreams have all been frustrated. And then to be called barbaric, subhuman is just terribly sad.
Neither Ginn nor Letlapa judge those who can't forgive. They know how hard it is. And they know the decision to forgive is a deeply personal one.
Those who are still trapped in the past of revenge may see the light that being possessed by the past, that is, being revengeful, may not help, because there's only one person who can heal the wounded, is the wounded themselves.
Ginn and Letlapa's hope is to inspire and help others to start walking in each other's shoes in order to understand, so that the message of spear cleansing and forgiveness spreads. Letlapa calls this a new kind of activism, to promote building bridges between people.
The same energies that we're using to fight, this time we have to use them to build bridges. That means a luta continua, and the struggle continues for bridge building.
Ginn is reminded of the value and importance of this journey each time she visits her daughter's grave.
I go to her grave every weekend to water the rose, and the wind whispers, "Go, Mooks, go. You're doing it."